some leverage.
We could try that.
Let's do that. The screwdriver won't cut it. But...
All right, so here's what we're trying to do. Hi, everybody. I just want to make a quick impromptu video just about EM pinball machines in general and kind of getting them restored and chopped out and whatnot. There's a very nice lady here in the Twin Cities. She has Williams Beat the Clock. As you can see, the clock is beating us right now. So, yep, there's the clock unit that Dave's helping me out with. You can see here's all the little clock pieces here, the stepper unit for the clock. And a lot of times when people have a pinball machine in their home and it's been sitting for a while, you know, some of the grease and lubrication up here completely freezes up. And when you want to get a pinball machine up and running or fine-tuned or cleaned up, you can't just kind of go into somebody's house. We're actually at my house where I have my private collection over here, as you can see. But I'm going to bring this light around front and kind of show you what we're going to do. Getting the clock working is just the first step, but very beautiful Beat the Clock here. We're going to go through all the little details. We'll put some LEDs in the back box. We have, you can see the 1 score unit is a little bit dirty. The 10s and 100s are in pretty good shape. I think right now Steve Young is having some issues with his hot press operator for doing drop targets and bumper caps, but as you can tell, these are the wrong ones. For the lady, I want to get the proper ones on there that are similar to this, so I may have to resort to getting some used ones online. I'm not sure yet, but we'll take all the metal pieces off, polish them. We'll do a flipper rebuild kit, put new sleeves in all the pop bumpers. I'm going to replace all the skirts. These little guys right here, these are kind of the actuators. I mean, you can clean them up, but when they're this old, it's just best to replace them. You can see we have a rubber ring missing here, and we'll get all the rings off and replace those. We'll put LEDs in the general illumination, kind of get the trough cleaned out and everything like that. And it'll be a good playing game. I already played a couple games on it, but I was kind of stuck at 230 there. So very labor intensive. This is something I've been kind of slowly getting into, helping people out, getting their EMs all tuned up here in the Twin Cities. I think we're in, what was it, the middle of June of 2021. So hopefully everybody out in the world of pinball is doing well, and I look forward to showing you more updates to this game. It's going to clean up really well. This will be a really nice example here of Williams Beat the Clock, and this is a reverse wedge head. We'll see you all later. All right. Nope. So I'm going to show you, here's the knocker coil. That's when you win a free game. In similar fashion, how we have this stepper unit right here, the replay unit's the same. So Dave's going to score for us, and we're going to win a free game. So if you want to go ahead and rack up some, he's just going to step us through. And this thing does give a free game away. There you go. Now see, it's humming really loud, and it's trying to give a free game right here. But since this is frozen, just like the clock, that causes this coil right down here to pull in. Hear that vibration? That should be hitting it and then letting go for that little knocking noise. But since we're jammed up here, it's just going to make that humming noise and eventually burn out the coil. So Dave just hit some points there. You just, okay. No, there it goes. Yeah, because the play field's up. It may have been male scoring. So reason being, we needed to make sure this is cleaned up. I mean, if you're on free play, it doesn't matter. But if you're playing the game, yep, see, there it goes again. He just gave a free game. And we got the same problem. So this has to be cleaned up as well. The whole thing has to be disassembled and lubricated. You got to completely disassemble and lubricate this. Otherwise, we're going to run into more problems. And hopefully after this, we'll have a working game. And then we can kind of start the cleaning process and wax and lights and all the fun stuff. So we got to get the aggravating stuff out of the way first. And I can see a little extra spring sitting right here. That may have been something to enable free play or something like that. I'm not quite sure how that got there. I just noticed that right now. So we'll go through and check things out. All right, here's the playfield glass, courtesy of Dave and his foot. I take your foot off for a second. There's the playfield glass completely bowed. Yeah, so that we got to replace that too. I'm assuming it's tempered. All right, we got the credit unit all cleaned up. Most important part is each and every one of these points needs to be cleaned up in terms of taking the old lubrication off, because that turns into a gum or a glue, and that kept that knocker coil turned on, as we saw in the last segment. So I don't know where it's at right now, but we can add and subtract. I kind of have a hard time getting my hand in there, but there it goes. And yeah, everything's looking good there. I can tell it's on free play because these two wires are jumpered together. It almost looks like someone had this wire off too, which is kind of odd because it adds credits. I don't know if that was their way of addressing the knocker issue. But as long as we are working up here, let's take a look at the score reels next. I think the ones unit is the dirtiest, so I want to get all those cleaned up right now. That's this guy right here. You can tell it has some dirt on there. And we'll clean the other ones too, maybe with some just soap and water. But everything else looks good in here. I'm checking the springs out, make sure that they're healthy. Here's the ones unit, 10s and 100s over here in the corner. And these are pretty straightforward. It doesn't really know what position that it's in except towards the end. So if we kind of pulsate it here, all of a sudden it has this little jump and these switches move. So that's at 9. And then all the way other direction, that's 0. And then 1, 2, 3, you get the idea. So everything here is looking pretty solid, but we just want to look it over and make sure it's healthy and no surprises going forward. Well, I have no idea what this little guy here does, but it looks like it's coming loose. So let's get the iron out and fix that, because that could lead to a problem. That's why when you move pinball machines, you can sometimes run into issues that you don't expect or were not there previously. So I'm just going to check all these wires. I remember when I sold a Space Mission pinball, that was also a Williams, but there's a, it's like a player unit that's kind of right here. Just basically to reproduce the problem. What had happened was when he set it up, there was like a spring that kind of came off that was down by one of those plugs. So we'll just kind of pretend that was the problem. And it was just sitting like this and it wasn't stepping through the players. So sometimes little simple fixes like this is all it takes to get a game working again. I can't do this one-handed, but we'll keep moving forward. The next thing I noticed too is this center star. The plastic support piece is cracked, so we want to replace that. I know they don't really have a lot of these on hand anymore, so we'll probably use a white one. I think it kind of lines up. I think this is for Gottlieb, but it might work. It looks like there's a couple of, if I can get it in the right light, you can kind of see where there's like a plastic insert piece in there. I don't know if that was for these posts or not, but I'll have to drill a hole for this. The only downside is it's probably not going to be the original color, but it kind of matches that white star, so I like that. I know Gottlieb put the little metal ring retainers around the edge, but I'm guessing that's not the case for Williams, because if you see these armatures, how close they come to the wood, I don't think it would accommodate that. So we'll leave that alone, but we'll get this piece replaced, definitely. Okay, here's the right side of the play field. I'm going to just turn some ceiling lights on real quick so you can get a little bit better view. You can see we have a incandescent bulb that's burnt out here. Here's an original incandescent. And we have a bit of dirt over here. You can kind of see where the rubber rings kind of keep the ball at bay to keep the dirt from getting on the wood. And over here on the left, we've already cleaned it up just a little bit. And we've got LEDs in here now, so we'll kind of step it back a little bit. I haven't completely cleaned it, but you can kind of see where it shines a little bit more. We'll get even more light on here, so you can kind of see what's going on. I even dripped a little bit of my cleaner right here, and it really cleans up well. So we'll keep moving forward with that. I'm even going to take this apron off because there's always a lot of dirt and dust that gathers underneath there. Even though you can't see it, it's still important to do. It helps keep the overall performance of the game in good shape. So yeah, we'll keep moving forward, and it's going to turn out real nice, I think. Here are the ring and rod assemblies removed. I took one and I polished it a little bit. You're almost doing yourself a disservice if you replace them unless they're cracked or damaged, because over time you can see the ball has kind of worn in and polished them a little bit. So if you just add a little bit of sandpaper at 3000, you give them a better polish, and that way there's good action on the game, and then you're not damaging the pinballs either, because if you buy new ones of these, the metal's going to be more raw and it's not going to have as good of action. And we also got these skirts off. I cut these off because they're easier to cut the wires for the lights, but we'll look in here and find some appropriate colors. I'm thinking maybe even the elusive teal for the blue cap. I don't know how that'll transition with the colors on the playfield, so we'll match up some nicer ones. I think they put a white one on there originally, or they replaced it with a white one, but who knows. These are really cheap, and if they break, it's a disaster. So good time to replace them. I forgot to do it before, but we got the ball trough all cleaned up. We're still going to use the original decal for the ball counter. We've got some adhesive on the back, and we took everything out, cleaned it, got the switches out and polished those. So we're getting everything seated back in, and this turned out really nice. Okay, the top part of the playfield is just about done. There's a few more scraps of dirt I want to clean. I want to take that apron off up on top, clean it up, and get those bumpers adjusted up at the top. But right now I'm working on rebuilding the flippers. We already did some work to them, but we have more to do. So I went ahead and replaced the links and plungers on the right side, but not the left side, just to give you a comparison. If you look at the left flippers here, notice when I push the button, see how they kind of dance a little bit? How they kind of little flutter a little bit, but on the right side, look how much more steady they are. That'll give you a lot more power and a lot more control of the pinball by replacing those links and plungers underneath. Very important detail to take care of when you're going through a game.